Okay. The first task is to test network connectivity. I've tried to use my Mac remote desktop, but it's kind of giving me issues with that. Now, the first thing you need to do, you want to make sure that your computer is set up. So you go to settings, you go to PC info. Now, make sure you go to remote settings on the left-hand side. Then, normally by default, it will say do not allow remote connection to this computer. Is that not correct? So select allow remote connection to the computer. Now, it says allow connection only from computer running desktop with network level authentication. Now, this is where you use IPsec. Are you getting me? This one is more secure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check this. I'm going to click apply and I'm going to click OK. Okay, let me try to use my Mac remote desktop application again. And the IP address is .5.112. Let me try to connect again. That's my username and my password. Let me try. Let me see if it's going to verify the identity this time. Okay, it's still giving the same issue, so it's fine. I'll use my Windows XP. Sorry, Windows 7. So let me log into my Windows 7 computer. Then I'm going to try to use remote desktop to connect to my Windows 8. So I'm going to click on Start. MSTSC. Connect. So I'm going to type 192.168.5.112. That's the IP address. Okay, my username is Peter, and I'll put my password. So let's see if it's going to connect. Securing remote connection. So right now I'm using my Windows 7 to do remote connection to my Windows 8 computer. Are we together? Okay, let's wait. Now normally after the connection is gone through, it will bring up a pop-up where to give you a certificate confirmation. Are you getting me? Have any of you connected?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so let me just wait for you to. Now, that's the certificates configuration. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now, this says this identity of this computer cannot be verified. Do you want to connect anyway? Now, the reason is because the reason why it's giving you this pop-up is just in case your computer certificate, if you're running a certificate authority on the network. Because if you notice why it's telling you this notification here is because the certificate you're using in your Windows 8 is not the same certificate issued on your client's computer system. So in a large environment or in a large organization where you have a certificate authority running, you'll notice that these two computers will be issued a certificate based on remote desktop connection. Are you getting me? So that when these computers connect, they will have identical certificates coming from the same organization. So it will trust the connection. Are you getting me? That's why if you come in here, if you notice it says certificate name. Now remember I'm connected to Trainer PC. Can you see there? Trainer PC. Now if you notice there, it says the following error was encountered while validating the remote computer certificate. It says the certificate is not from a trusted certifying authority. Do you know why? Because this certificate is a self-assigned by the computer. That's why if you click on view certificates, you'll notice there it will show you the certificate of Trainer PC. Are we together? If you notice there, you see it says because there's no root. Remember, in order for you to get a certificate, you need a root, which is what? Certificate authority. Are we together? It's just that this certificate is self-assigned and is not trusted because it's a computer that assigned it to itself. Okay? I'll go and click close now. I'm going to click yes, it's fine. I want to continue. So now the desktop is going to come up now. And yeah, it's going to go onto the black screen. Just give it a while. I'm going to log in. It's coming up now. Just give it a while. Okay, and that is it. So I'll be able to have access to my desktop. It's a little bit bigger here, so I'm going to minimize this. So now I can confirm I can do remote desktop connection. Is that not correct? Is that not correct? Yeah, I believe some of you have that as well now, right? Some of you are able to connect. Or some of you are just looking at me. You're not doing anything. It's a simple step. We've done it before in Network Plus. It's a very simple step. You can use your host computer. You're using a Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 or single license, doesn't matter. You can use Windows 7. But you notice that during my configuration on the desktop, I did uncheck network level authentication. Are you getting me? It is recommended, especially when your computer is also using Windows 8. Are we together? Because it uses IPsec to encrypt the connection. Okay, the next step we're going to be doing now is to create an inbound rule. Now, you know what inbound means, right? Communication what? Coming in. Now, if you notice, it was Windows XP that, my Windows 7 that tried to connect, right? Which is an inbound rule. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create an inbound rule for TCP and UDP to block connections for what? Remote desktop. Are we together? So I'm going to come and cancel this now. I'm going to come to my desktop. I'm going to log in at Speeder. Okay. Password. Okay, I'm going to come here again and just do the same procedures to see if I'm able to establish communication. I'm not going to connect. Okay, you can see my credential comes up. It means I'm able to connect. So I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to go to the firewall rule. I'm going to go to the firewall now to create a rule for inbound for remote desktop for inbound rule. So we're going to go to, you can come to the search icon here, and of course you can type firewall. So you can come to settings. Then you see Windows. Do you see Windows Firewall? You can click on it. Now, on the left-hand side, you will notice you see Advanced Settings. You see Advanced Settings? Click on it. So the Windows Firewall with Advanced Security Settings will open, where you have inbound and what? Outbound rules. Are we together? Now, in our lab, we are asked to create an inbound rule. Is that not correct? Is that not correct? Okay, these are actually default rules. These rules are already set up already by Microsoft. They've already been activated. Now, if you scroll down, to remote desktop, did you notice that we already have a predefined remote desktop rule already? Did you see it there? You can see that you have remote desktop shadow, remote desktop shadow TCP in. You also have remote desktop user mode. You also have the UDP mode. And did you notice that all the rules are automatically allowed? Did you notice that all the rules are automatically allowed? Did you notice? Now, this is what we call predefined. We didn't create the rule. The rule was already predefined already. So what we're asked to do now, we're asked to set up a denied rule for each of those rules. For shadow TCP in. Now, if you notice on the profile, we also need to be careful about the profile. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to right-click on my network adapter, open network and sharing center. Now, currently, my network is on private network. Is that not correct? So I'm going to close. That is why if you notice, the public network, it's actually grayed out. You can see it says no, right? Because you don't want users to be able to have access to your computer through the public network. Is that not correct? So what I'm going to do now, since I'm on the private or either domain, now that's my shadow. I'm going to right-click on it. Then I'm going to click on property. Now, did you notice there on the property, you have action on the general tab? Did you see where it says allow the connection if it's secured, or block the connection? So what are we going to select? We're going to block. So we're going to click block, and we're going to click on apply, and what? Okay. I'm going to go do that on TCP user mode, properties again. And I'm going to come and block, apply. Okay. You can see the symbol there, right? The red circle, right? In the middle, okay? So I'm going to block, apply, and okay. But if you notice, it is enabled, but we're blocking it from what? From inbound. Because remember, we're in inbound rules, right? Okay, let's go try with my Windows XP, my Windows 7 again. I'm going to come in here. Let's see. Type in the IP address, click connect. And let's see what happens. Wow, it's taking too long. It's taking too long. It's initiating a remote connection. Let's see if the connection is going to happen. The only thing we'll see is that either the remote access server is not enabled or the computer is turned off. It doesn't tell us exactly what the problem is. Are we together? So it doesn't tell us exactly, so that the person does not know what he needs to go and enable on your computer. Are we together? Okay. So the next step we're going to do now is to okay, let's go to exercise 2 now. Now, the exercise 2, we're going to test the outbound rules. Of course, outbound rules is that you want to prevent people from using their remote desktop connection on their computer to connect to another computer system, which that's outbound. So what I'm going to do, since we've tested the inbound rules, I'm going to go back. I'm going to re-enable them again so that we can reconfirm it. I'm going to come back and say allow connection. But before I continue, I want to explain something. Now, take note. I just want to explain something for you. Now, if you notice, we are actually on the general tab. I want to show you something that if you notice here, you see a tab called remote computers. Can you go there? Now, if you click on remote computers, did you notice automatically it's unchecked, right? By default, it's unchecked. Now, what I can do, I can actually come here and specify which computer can connect to my system. By coming here, it says authorized computers only allow connections from these computers. So if I check this button, the add button is going to come up. Now, if you notice, when I check the button, it says I must ensure that my allow connection is secured, which is where IPsec comes in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the general tab, and I'll say allow connection if it is what? Secured. Now I'll go back to remote computers. If I check it, it's going to work now. So when I click add, all I need to do is to type the name of the computer. So only these computers that I've specified on my Active Directory or my server will be able to connect remotely. Any computer on this list that is not, sorry, any computer that is not on this list will be prevented.
So it's not really necessary to include an exclusion or what?
Yeah. So you just put only the computers you want to authorize. That's all. Yeah. But in a server system, we have what we call group security. Active Directory group security group. So we can have 5 computers or 20 computers. We create a group, then we add all the groups, all the computers to that group. Then instead of adding individual computers, we just add that group. Are you getting me? So I'll just uncheck that. I'll go back and I'll come here, allow connection. Now, if you notice, if you click on the allow connection, if it's secured, you can actually customize it as well. Remember, we talked about level of authentications, right? I can say, okay, no, I want you to allow connection to use full encapsulation or require. You guys remember the require and request. So I can require the connection should be what? Encrypted. So that this is where you now have to now select what type of encryptions you want to use. Either password, certificate, or passphrase. So that's something else. Later on we'll talk about that. So I'm going to click on just allow connection. So I'm going to click apply. I'm going to click OK. I'll do that for the rest of them. Double click, allow, apply, OK. Double click, allow, apply, OK. Now if I go to my Windows XP, sorry, Windows 7, I don't know why I keep repeating XP. If I click connect, you see immediately it comes up. Is that not correct? That's how fast it is. Okay, let's go and talk about the outbound rules. But before we do the outbound rules, I'm going to try to connect to my Windows 7. So I'm going to try to check what is my IP address of this computer. I'm going to check it now. I'm going to go to local area network. So I'm using 110. So I'm going to check on my property of my computer that's remote desktop is activated. So I'll come to remote settings. You can use your Windows 8. You can use your local computer as well. Doesn't make any difference. So it's not allowed. So I'm going to allow connection. I'm going to click apply. And I'm going to click OK. So that is sorted. So I'm going to use my Windows XP, my Windows 8.1 to now access my Windows 7 computer. So I'm going to go to my Windows 7. So my Windows 8. This is my Windows 8.1. So I'm going to run the MSTSC, which is remote desktop connection. And the IP address is 192.168.5.110. So I'm going to click connect. Okay, the username is network plus and the password. And let's see if I'm able to remotely connect to my Windows. Wow, it's quite fast out. So I'm going to click. You see, you also have the same problem here, right? Because Windows 7 is also using a self-signed what? Certificate. So I'm going to click yes. And that is it. My Windows 7 will come up. That's it. So you can access my Windows 7 from here without logging in, without signing in locally into the computer. Now, if I go to my Windows 7, you notice that it's signed out already, right? And it's being accessible by another computer. So I'm going to close that. Now, what we want to do, we want to prevent users on Windows 8.1 from doing remote desktop at all. So we're going to configure outbound rules for remote desktop. It's not that we're preventing them from sending any traffic out. We just want to configure outbound rules for just the remote desktop connection. Are we together? So let's go to the advanced security settings again. That's the advanced security settings. So in this case, we're going to click on what? Outbound rules. But in this case, if you scroll down, if you notice, we only have remote assistance here. There's no remote desktop. So in this case, we have to create a new rule for remote desktop. Are we together? Because come to think about it, it doesn't make sense. Remote desktop should be used. Right? I should be able to use my remote desktop to connect out, right? So it doesn't make sense creating an outbound route for what? Remote desktop. Are we together? So we're going to create a customized rule by creating a new rule. So on the right hand side, did you see where it says create rule? Or if you can come to the action tab, did you see where it says new rule? Whichever way you do, you click on it, it's fine. Either you create it on the action panel, or you go to the menu bar. On the menu bar, you can also click on action and say new what? Rule. So I'm going to click on new rule now. And you notice we're now our rule, we want to prevent remote desktop program from making an outbound rule. So in this case, we're going to select program because we're not blocking a port, or we're not blocking a predefined rule, or we're not creating a customized rule. We're trying to create a rule for a particular program called MSTSC, which is the program application for what? Remote desktop connection. So I'm going to select program. I'm going to click next. So we're going to specify the path. Now the path is actually in our System32 folder on drive C. So I'm going to click Browse. I'm going to go to drive C, this PC. I'll scroll down. I'll go to my drive C. I'll go to Windows. I'll go to System32. So I'll just click anywhere and type S and System32. That's it there. And the next thing I'll look for is MSTS. So I can just click anywhere and press, type the letter M. So I can scroll down. Okay, that's for only folders. Let me type M again. And let's see. Let's move on. We're looking for MS. Yeah, .exe. And that's it there. That's it then. You see there. MS dot what? TS what? C. That's .exe. So that you can see the file description there. Remote desktop what? Connection. So I'm going to click open. And exactly that's what I want to see on my path, which is nice. So I'm going to click next. What action are we doing? We are not aligned. We're what? Blocking. So we click block. And the next step we're going to do is going to ask us what profile. Remember we talked about the network profile. Domain, private. Private is more or less like your home or work. Domain is where you're working with a workplace, place, right? Your corporate network, where you have a server. Public, of course, your hotspot, right? So I'm going to select, according to the lab, we have to select all profiles, right? So I'm going to click on next. And we're going to give it a name. According to the name, we'll call it block outbound RDP to, in my case, to my Windows 7 PC. So I don't know what PC you're using, so you can type the name of your PC there. Okay, you can put a description there. Computers with Windows 8.1 are not allowed to connect using RDP program. Okay, it's done. I've pressed enter, finish, it's done. Now if I go there, you can see the rule there. Can you see that? It's all profile, it's enabled, and it's block. You can scroll to see other aspects, and it tells you, you can see that any local IP address, is that not correct? Now, I can actually come in here by double-clicking on it, use the same option we had the other time, and come and say remote computers, and only add the computers that we want to prevent. Are you getting me? Of course, it will need you to also select your secure connection. I can come to ports. I can also say, okay, who will be affected? Any port or any IP address or any TCP port or UDP port. Are you getting me? Then, of course, you can come here and put a scope. Now, a scope is like putting a range of an IP address that this policy will affect, meaning the server IP. Are you getting me? The domain, maybe we'll have a file server IP, another private computer system. So I can come here, I can say, okay, no, these are the IP address that will be affected remote, which are the remote IP address, because it's not a local IP address. So I'll come here and say this IP address, and I'll click add. Then I type the IP address, and I can either type it with the subnet, or I can type it with what? With each individual IP address by putting the range from this range to this range, or I can say any IP addresses. So if I specify an IP address in this format, it will only prevent the IP address I have defined. So other computers will be, this system will be able to connect to them. Are we together? I just decided to bring all this up for you guys to so that you can understand some of the other aspects as well. So let's try it and see whether remote desktop can connect. So we'll go to the search icon again. We'll type MSTSC, which is remote desktop connection. So that's my computer network plus one. I'm going to click connect. Remember, it's enabled, so it should connect, right? Okay, let's see. Let's test it. It's failing, right? Now, I repeatedly, when I call my friend on Windows 7, it's telling me that everything is okay. It is because my computer has been what? Denied that ability of what? Remotely connecting to another computer system. Now, if I go back to the rule, if I come here and I say disable the rule. Now, you know what disable means, right? It means it's not effective, huh? So I'm going to come here, click connect, and you see immediately it connects because the rule does not exist anymore. Are we together? Okay. Guys, that is how to create inbound and outbound rules. This applies to programs and ports and IP addresses, applications as well. You now see what firewalls is all about. It's it's like a soldier. You say move, he moves. Come, he comes. Are you getting me? There's no negotiation. Are we together? Okay. So